All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Word with Ty Brownlow. I am your host, Ty Brownlow, and remember, no one is worthless. No story is worthless. Today, ladies and gentlemen, got a very special guest for you. I'll give you a couple of words about my guest. Professional, athletic, storyteller, advocate. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Darryl Clack.
How you doing, sir? Appreciate you having me.
Man, thank you. Man, I appreciate you being here because you're here to bring awareness, about some things that I just really don't think we take, into consideration. But you're, bringing it from a different standpoint because you, sir, one of the words I mentioned was professional. You, sir, are now a retired NFL professional, NFL, player or what have you. NFL player, Dallas Cowboys. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Played in the college years. Brought oohs and ahs and cheers to Arizona State as well. Running back, touchdowns on the special teams, things of that nature as well. But you are here to talk about your book. You have a book called Hear My Story Before I Forget.
Yes. Excited about it.
Now, this book covers some pretty interesting things that we don't really talk about, I don't think enough, in the community, and, enough of our, loved ones as well. So let's talk a little bit about this book.
Okay. It's like I said, it's called Hear My Story Before I Forget. And the purpose of the book was to tell my side of things, the things that went on with me. And, whether it's through football, just any and everything that I've gone through from the start of football, which is, when I first started playing with fifth grade, tackle. And then it kind of takes you through a process where things that I experienced injury wise. And one of the main ones was concussions. And so I kind of experienced concussions from youth football, junior high, high school, college, and the professional level. And it kind of gives you a breakdown of things that I experienced, everything I went through, side effects I dealt with, the process that I went through, the processes on what during that time period when we got concussions, what the protocol was like. It's totally different now, and so kind of gives you a rundown of that. And then it kind of gives you also a rundown of illnesses, things that I've been diagnosed with. Depression, I was diagnosed with depression. I was diagnosed with PTSD, Then I was also diagnosed with a blood disorder called TTP, which is a blood disorder that generates blood clots in my blood vessels. And when that happens, it stops oxygen flow either in my brain, my heart, or my kidneys, And so it takes you through a whole journey on what I went through from the start of me being diagnosed with that illness to the period that I've gone through when I was in a coma for 2 days. It talks about how I came out of the coma, why I came out of the coma. And it talks about my whole journey as far as rebuilding myself, learning how to talk, learning how to walk, my memory was gone, had to work on bringing back my memory. So working with all these different therapists, and just kind of that whole transition on, being on top of the world, playing football to now you're retired and things that you're going through life-wise, experience-wise with the injuries I've sustained, sore knees, arthritis in both knees, arthritis in both shoulders, arthritis in my back, and headaches every day, so it kind of gives you that whole step-by-step journey and process that I went through, on top of using it as a book for resources. So, if someone can say, hey, I read this book because I remember Darryl Clack went through this. Now I can see what he went through, how he improved himself, and what the doctors did for him to get him to be better. And so they can utilize it as a resource as well, and it's a memoir. And the book is for athletes, it's for parents, it's for youth kids. It's something that they can read. It's an easy read. And it kind of gives you a whole idea of everything that you would deal with playing a game of football, because it's not one of those games where you can say it's an easy game. It's not an easy game.
No.
And it takes its toll on your body, and people don't realize the toll it takes on your body until someone speaks about it. And that's kind of what I do.
Well, and first, I'm sorry to cut you off, but you mentioned a lot of things, that in the last couple of years, I felt were tried to, be brought to the forefront, but as much as they were brought to the forefront, they were like swept under the rug until something tragic happened.
Yes.
And as you said, the aches, the pains, the concussions, things of these things of those nature, like, man, now you're diagnosed with like a blood disorder, and I think sometimes we really don't talk about the so-called love of the game, because the reason why all this is going on is for the so-called love of the game, but sometimes the love of the game can cost you your life.
Yes.
Almost.
Yes.
And as well, in a lot of cases, it has, cost a lot of people their lives. But the expectations from others around you to perform, and I think that's like the added pressure that no one really talks about as well, because as you said, depression. No one knows what you're really going through, because no one is really no one is going through what you're going through. No one is out there taking the hits. No one is out there, trying to like get their body, in order to go out here and perform at the, highest, every Sunday.
Right. Every Sunday. Exactly. And it's a lot of work, and it's not, and don't get it wrong, I love the game of football, and that's why I got into it, and that's why all of us play this game, because we love that game of football. It's just, it's like a drug to us, it's like we just got to do it, and we like to drive, we like the high from it. It's just something about this game because of what it teaches you. It teaches you to compete. It teaches you to drive. It teaches you how to motivate yourself and dedicate yourself, and teaches you how to work hard and train. And so a lot of the things that it teaches you, you take that and carries over into your normal life, with, if it's in another profession, another job, or whatever the case may be, because you've been groomed to work hard and prepare and perform well, and so that part of it, I love it, and the competition is great. You're competing with one another, but you're also making great relationships with your teammates. These are lifelong friendships, and the camaraderie that you get in a team environment, and teach you how to be a team player. And so it just teaches you so much that you can't get that anywhere else. And so I love it. But at the same time, you're gonna put your body through some changes and some challenges with this game, and which is great during the period, because when we're playing a game, we don't think about it. We're just playing it, perform with it, and just going with it.
But okay, so, and don't get me wrong, I totally understand. I totally get it. Like, man, this is what you love, as you said in your memoir, man.
Yeah.
I grew up wanting to do this. This is what I dreamt my whole life, to do.
Right.
So now I'm getting a chance to do it. And that's great when you can achieve like the highest of your goals, during that time. Also during that time, some of the like effects of achieving that, goal has taken place, and like the effects of that have lingered like afterwards. This is what I have issue with. Okay. And it's not, against anybody putting their body, and their will and everything on the line, because you'll hear like announcers or the media, what have you, be like, oh, they went all out, they give their heart and soul, to the game. And in a lot of cases that is true. Literally, you are giving your heart and soul to the game. But, I don't like it when they don't speak about the other side of the coin.
Correct.
As you said, depression, concussion. As you said, concussions for 2 days. You were out for 2 days.
Yeah. It's 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 a sensitive subject to people, because and they're not, and I think one reason is they're not trying to steer people away from playing a game of football, and a lot of times they won't talk about the downside of the game of football. And typically, a lot of it, you don't really start to feel these effects of it until after you're done playing the game. Then while you're done playing the game, then all of a sudden, gradually, everything just starts to fall in place. With the knees and arms, just everything just starts to fall in place as you're done. You're getting older, and it's just having this effect on you. And so it's just it's really hard for when you have the other side of people that just don't talk about things like that because they don't want to hear it. It's not, they're not trying to take people away from the game of football, and if you think about it, when the concussion stuff that started hit with the concussion settlement and lawsuits with the NFL,
right,
a lot of the parents started taking not letting their kids play the game of football. It declined a little bit.
Yes, it did. Yes, it
which
did.
I understand that because I think when it comes to tackle football, me personally, I don't think youth kids should be playing tackle football. I think you should start playing tackle football till you get to high school. Prior to that, flag football, because flag football, what that does is it just helps you improve the skill base. Skill base.
Things of that nature.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Tackle football, especially in the youth, their brains are still developing. And so to have all that constant contact on a young brain is really detrimental to them as a youth kid playing youth tackle football. And so I think what happened is a lot of parents were taking their kids out of youth tackle football and making them play flag football and then wait until they get older before they start playing tackle football, which makes sense to me. And then some parents just didn't want their kid to play football, period.
Yeah.
Because of that, and so when the concussion stuff hit, a lot of things started declining with football.
Well, now, and it's funny that you mentioned that because I can just tell you, even on social media, or not so much social media, but there was like a show on reality TV, and it dealt with like Pee-wee football, but they were tackling and things of that nature. Yeah. And I too agree. Like, I think that's real aggressive, even like for like a young child. And you're still not learning technique because you're not even in control of your emotions. Right. By the time you make it to high school, you somewhat understand what it is that you're doing, and you're able to learn technique a little bit more. It's really about, are you afraid to go out here and play football or not? So
exactly.
That's just pretty much what it is when you get to high school.
Basically, yes. Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Man, but no. So, I want to talk about this for a second because you touched on it for a second, when you said like the NFL was bringing light to concussions a couple of years ago. Now I know like the movie came out with Will Smith, and the NFL. Well, me personally, and a lot of other people personally feel as if they swept that. It was as if like, okay, here we are talking about concussions in the NFL, and now this movie comes out. Oh, okay, which is going to bring more light about all this stuff in the NFL. I just feel as if in one big fail swoop, they swept all that underneath the rug until you start getting notable NFL players taking their life, like a Junior Seau. And,
correct.
I want to say, was it Dave Durson, here from so what have you. And, when you start messing with like childhood memories of people, because I'm in like that Generation X age, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm like young enough to remember the Tony Dorsetts and the Herschel Walkers, you know what I'm saying? Darryl Clacks of the world, but I'm not that old that I can't, recognize what's going on now. You know what I'm saying? So like I could draw back, but when you start messing with like childhood, like, heroes almost in a sense, because Junior Seau he went to the Super Bowl, and I want to say he went to the Super Bowl with New England as well. I don't know if he went with New England, but I know he went to the Super Bowl twice. And he was a hero to a lot of people, especially like in his home country or what have you. So when he took his life, and now that's something I think people don't really talk about enough too. Like, not only like things of this nature, not only do they affect you, excuse me, but they affect, others around you as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whether or not they had a direct connection to you or an indirect connection to you, like, it still affects, everyone, pretty much.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it does. When that stuff came out concussion-wise, regarding concussions, it I think the big thing that we're talking about is that thing they call CTE. So with all the head trauma that you get, you develop, this illness called CTE, which is dealing with the brain, but you can't diagnose it while you're still alive. You only diagnose it if you're deceased, because they have to go in and dissect the brain, and so a lot of issues with like Junior High and a lot of all these players, some of the older players back from the early days of the Pittsburgh Steelers, when they were actually, committing suicides, is because of the effects that they were having from CTE, which was due to all the brain trauma that they received over the years playing football. And it's not just focused on playing professional football. It's like football their entire life, our entire lives. And you got to keep in mind, because in our generation, when we play football, we hit every day, all day. Practice 3 hours, we're hitting for 3 hours. Games, we're hitting. And so, that consistent head trauma to your brain, it develops a lot of issues, from that standpoint. And when that came out, that brought a lot of light in, because the entire time, we were trying to figure out, well, okay, did the NFL know about CTE, and with these helmets, the fact that the helmets didn't protect us from head trauma.
Right.
And so that battle was back and forth. Okay, did the NFL know about it, and they just didn't tell us about it? So it was like a big battle going back and forth between, the attorneys and NFL and so forth. And that's kind of why that settlement generated, because, they're saying, well, you guys knew about it, but didn't tell the players about it. Didn't tell the players that the helmet's not going to protect you, that you'll have some repercussions from the head trauma.
Yeah.
And so, no one knew about it. And so when that came out, that brought a lot of light to people. There are a lot of questions and trying to figure out, okay, why is this? And doctors were getting involved, and all these people were getting involved. And so just the big charade going back and forth. Then after a period of time, it got quiet all of a sudden. So you're not hearing a lot about it anymore. And so why that is, don't know, because it's still happening. Now it's different in today's world, because they have a different protocol regarding that. Regarding concussions. They didn't have that kind of protocol when we played. When we play, you get a concussion, you pop an ammonia tab,
right?
Smell it and get right back out there and play.
And that's pretty much what it was back in the day.
Pretty much what it was.
Oh my God. Okay, but you're still woozy.
Woozy.
Can you remember where you are? Yeah, I know we're here. Yeah, I need you to get back out there and hit that.
Back out there and play. Yeah, you're trying to keep your job. It's a different protocol now. So.
Okay. You know what, Mr. Clack, let's talk about something for a second, that I know for sure we don't bring up, and I know for sure the NFL does not bring up. But you played in the NFL in an era where, racism was pretty alive and well. Okay. I know it still is today, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's a little bit more covert, than it was back then. Back then, it was Different era, different rules. People did whatever. Right. But now, you just hit on something. A player gets hurt. Okay? They get a concussion or what have you. They send them to the sideline. They give them a ammonia tab. All right? They're woozy or what have you. They're still not good. All right? Back then, you're fighting for your job. Still, I mean, even though till this day, you know, it's still like a game of position. It's all about who's top dog in a position. Okay. Everybody's still battling for position. Like, let's not get that twisted. But back then, you know, you had certain owners or what have you, man, at a drop of a hat, you know what? I don't want this black guy here. He's not performing or this, that, what have you. They'll get rid of you quick. And on top of that, no diagnosis of anything. They'll just say, hey, you know what? This guy's just bad goods or whatever. He's not a good player. He's not working out for our team. He doesn't fit the system. Right. Now you're out, you know, where truthfully, man, you suffered a concussion so bad that the organization didn't even get it like recognized or what have you, and, you know, get help or what have you. And you've just been like in like a fog for like the last 3 or 4 weeks because of like a vicious blow that you took to the head, you know, and it can be rough on a black player, you know, if you're not top dog at your position. And I know you played on special teams. Okay. So I know for a fact you've seen some hits, especially in that wedge, brother, before they made the wedge or whatever. Man, look here.
That's where I got all my hits from. Man, and
that wedge is no joke, man.
It's no joke.
It is no joke. Like they say these hits are like the equivalent of like a car crash.
I mean, it's like you sprint 30 yards and you just collision.
Wow. No, man. And I had to do this 16 times, you know, like a year.
Exactly. That's not including preseason.
right. We're not even talking preseason and playoffs. We're just saying, like, for sure, you know, you got to do this 16 times a year.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
Multiple times during the game.
Exactly.
I mean, and that can be rough, you know, and especially if you're dealing with like, you know, certain owners and things of that nature. And, you know, it's just bad, and it's just a bad look on the NFL. But I want to move away for a second, and I want to bring awareness to something that you were talking about earlier. As I said, one of the words I used was advocacy to describe you, and you're here, you know, definitely to talk about TTP. I know it's a blood disease, and it's a blood disorder, like you said, in which you know, clots or what have you form. And it cuts off like the oxygen or what have you. Okay. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that, and like how did you, first and foremost, how did you know you know, that you had this, and when did you get diagnosed?
2016 is a time where I was still working in the corporate world, basically, and it was a time where, you know, I got like a flu-like symptoms, you know. So I thought I was catching a cold, or I was just tired, or just, you know, stressed out and working too much. So I was getting like feverish symptoms, you know, just very fatigued. And then one thing I noticed that was different about me was I had blood in my urine. Okay, and so, you know, so my wife's like, hey, you might want to go to the doctor and get this checked out, you know. And I was like, now, you know how we are. It's like, well, I'll be all right.
Right.
You know, I'm trying to avoid going to the doctor. You know, I'm okay. You know, I just need some rest, you know, and so let's just take a vacation, you know. So we packed up, took a vacation, went out, let's go out to the beach. So we went to California, was having a little vacation. You know, it's like, man, I just need some rest. It's been stressed, working too hard, you know, all that kind of stuff. So got there and we started to enjoy our time, and it was one day when we was at lunch, and all of a sudden I started getting, my left arm started getting numb, and I started like, you know, almost like I was going to doze off. Basically, I had slurred speech, And so I just wasn't right. My wife's like, something's wrong, something's going on with you, you're completely out of it. So she calls the ambulance, 911 ambulance get there, and they start to do their workup, and they say, okay, well, he's about on the verge of having a stroke. And so they rushed me to the hospital. Now, while I'm in the ambulance, I'm talking to the people, and I'm saying, I'm really kind of nauseated and it's not really feeling good. And the next thing I know, I black out. So at that point, I'm out. Okay. And it wasn't until I woke up 2 days later to find out what happened, And so when I finally woke up, they kind of explained to me what happened. They said what happened was they had diagnosed me with this blood disorder called TTP. And then they started this treatment on me, and my body didn't take it. And so I had a seizure. And then when I had that seizure, it put me into a coma. And that's when I was in a coma, And then after I came out of the coma, they continued to give me that treatment. And that's kind of what kind of brought me to the point where I started to get better and better and better. But it was over a time period. Wow. And so I didn't know what TTP was at the time. And so the doctor said, okay, TTP is a blood disorder that I acquired. So it's not something that I could say how I got it. It was acquired, And so I was like, wow. But the thing about it was it's a rare blood disorder. So not a lot of people knew about it or how to treat it. So a lot of treatments that they were giving me was more like test treatments. Like, okay, let's try this. It didn't work. Let's try this. It didn't work. Let's keep trying this, And so it was just an ongoing process, and once they kind of figured it out, then I started to get better, but it was something I had to continue doing, and one of the treatments that they were giving me is called plasmapheresis treatments. So it's taking plasma out of my body. It's like a dialysis, like blood transfusion. Take plasma out of my body and put plasma in my body from donors. And then what that does is it helps build up my platelets to where it needs to be.
Okay.
And so if people don't want to understand platelets are, a platelet is where when you have a wound or a cut, it generates a wall to help seal that wound and stop it from bleeding. Okay, so TTP is like an internal blood disorder where you bleed internally. So I can bleed from my gums, inside my stomach, my body, my urine. It's a blood disorder, or it could cause me to bleed pretty much any time at some point. And so once they figured out the type of treatment, that's what's been helping me this whole time. And so I was doing that for about almost a year, doing those treatments. And then they had to put me on some chemo treatment, and I had to take a lot of steroids, just to kind of build myself back up. And so it's just an ongoing process, man. And good solid 2 years worth, And so I'm still here. I'm still blessed, but I have to be careful and watch that nothing affects my immune system. So if I catch a cold, or if I catch a viral infection, or anything like that, that's going to cause my immune system to be disrupted. They can put me into a relapse, back in the hospital, treatments all over again. And that's kind of what actually that did happen about 3 weeks ago. So yeah, I was in the hospital for another week because I had a relapse. Why? I'm not sure what happened, but I think what happened was, and I'm not trying to steer any way from this, but I got my COVID shot. And the COVID shot, it kind of does, it's like a flu shot. It kind of messes with your immune system. And I think that's what triggered it. And so I had to go back in, get my treatments again, get my immune system back up, get my plates back up, and then I'm good at the point. So it's a continuous work in progress, and it's a continuous situation where I always got to be aware of everything. I got to make sure I take care of myself, make sure my immune system is strong, and, just be careful. So it's a lifelong process.
And, that's something, that, yeah, as you were saying, that's, you have a compromised immune system. And,
yes. Oh, yeah.
And pretty much at the end of the day, you have to do whatever to protect that. And
yes,
we're not going to put any blame on anything or what have you. But
yeah.
that at the end of the day, we know what the system is, and you're doing everything you can to protect your system to make sure.
That's correct.
So
that's correct.
Nothing wrong with that at all, you know. First and foremost, let me just say, man, wishing you the best of health, you know.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
Man, foremost.
Yeah, it's a continuous work. Yeah, continuous work. Thank you.
Yes. And well, you know, this is something that needs to be brought, you know, to the forefront more of.
Yes.
Because
yeah,
I've never heard of TTP, you know, until you know, I was reading through and everything you were talking about. I'm like, okay, like I really wonder how many people really suffer from this, you know, on a year basis. And it's happening and we don't really know because, as you said, you know,
nobody's talking about it. Yeah.
No one's talking about it. And when it happened to you, your wife was like, hey, go to the doctor. Your first response, nah, I don't.
Exactly. And that's, you know, and that's the scary part about it because we're groomed that way, you know.
That's the stigma.
You know, we're not going, that's the stigma. We're not going to the doctor, man. I'll be all right. You know, I'll get through this, you know.
I will get through this. Your wife was like, no, you won't. You're going to, the only way you're getting through it is if I call the doctor. I already know it is.
Hey, bro, let me tell you right now, I don't care if it's a sniffle. I'm going to the doctor, getting it checked out. You gotta tell me twice. Yeah. So that stigma with me is gone.
No, I got you, man. I got you. Like, but you know, it goes back into some of the stuff you were saying that's in the book, like the PTSD, things of that nature, you know?
Yeah.
We've been trained, you know, to have these thoughts and feelings when it comes to like certain figures and
exactly.
Doctors in hospitals are one of those, you know?
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. So now look, if someone wanted to get a copy of your book, how can people get a copy of this book?
So they can either go to Amazon.com in order to do Amazon. They can go to BarnesandNobles.com and order it. They can go to my website, which is DarrylClack.com, and they can get it off of there. And if they want an autographed copy, same thing. There's a link on my website that they can go ahead and order through that, and I can send them an autographed copy.
All right,
you know?
y'all.
Yes, so it's out there. You know, I'm plugging at it and social media. You know, I'm all over social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm just DClack42. You know, they can always like me and send me messages or whatever on that. They have questions about it. So, you know, I'm kind of, you know, I try to get involved with so much, you know, outside of just TTP, but also I talk about a lot about depression. You know, I was diagnosed with depressive disorder, you know, so I talk about that a lot as well, you know, just to get people out of that stigma about depression, you know, mental illness, you know, so that's a big part of what a lot of us are going through and dealing with, you know, so I talk about that a lot as well.
And see, you know, well, I just want to talk about it for a second. Like, you know, the stigma of mental health and mental illness, especially when it comes to athletes, you know, especially football players. Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
Shake it off. You're not supposed to have these feelings. You're going to be okay. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about that. Where, like, there's like all kinds of like, there's all kinds of anxieties going on.
Oh, yeah.
With you. And, you know, I'm not even talking about anything injury related. Now, if it's an injury, you know, that anxiety goes up like 1,000.
Yeah.
You know, because you're always skeptical. Like, okay. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. You know, so you're always going to be on the defensive. But
yes, always.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
We just, you know, it's just that we have to change that stigma because, you know, the only way that we change this is just to be open about it, talk about it. You know, I mean, to me, I'm not afraid to talk about my illness. I'm not afraid to talk about stigma. I want people to understand it. I want people to know about it. And hopefully that at some point it helps one person at least, you know, that say, okay, I remember this happened, you know, or, you know, something, but, you know, and to always look out to, and I think one area too is get people to get checked out, you know, go get checked out. You know, during my period of depression, man, I even saw a therapist. I went and saw a therapist for about 6 months. You know, I did. I'm not afraid to tell it. You know, it's like, it helps, you know, because it gives you a better insight of what's going on, helps you learn what's going on, and also helps you how to work through it and fix the problem. So you don't know until you try.
But I think sometimes, a lot of times, it's an ego thing.
Oh yeah, definitely ego.
I mean, it's really like an acceptance that something's really wrong with me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, especially us in the African American community, love to point fingers at those that we deem are not like us. So something must be wrong with you. So I'm gonna point a finger at you. When in reality, there is something wrong with me. And I've heard people talk about this too, and this is very true. And people to say this too, when they say, hey, man, I grew up like this and I grew up like that, and you know what? I turned out okay and we turned out okay. No, we didn't turn out okay. Like
exactly.
We're look.
You just
function in a way that's a little bit better than this person or that person, but we didn't turn out okay. So
exactly,
let's end that stigma too.
Yeah, end that stigma, exactly. I'm with you on that.
All right, brother, man. Look here, man. I've enjoyed this talk, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Seriously,
thank you. Yeah, thank you.
You bringing awareness to us and all, but I have to ask the question that my show's known for, which lets we're at the end of the show, but I have to ask the question, but this is the question that my show's known for, so I got to give it to you. Mr. Darryl Clack, what is the one word that best describes you and why?
One word that best describes me, I'm going to say, and I always say, is blessed or thankful.
Okay.
Because of everything that I've gone through, my journey, and no matter what has happened with me, my faith has been keeping me going each and every time, and so that's the key word for me, so, and I live by it daily. I'm so thankful. I'm so blessed, because God has, he's kept me around for a reason, and so there we go. I'm thankful.
Hey man, ain't nothing wrong with that, brother. Hey, look at man, I'm just going to say it again, man. Advocate. I just appreciate you just bringing knowledge, to us about, as pretty much as I said before, TTP, but also at the same time, insight into a sport that a lot of us do like watching, but a lot of times when you hear stories, you may wonder about it, like, oh, that's so sad, but you keep it moving because you really don't know anyone. But to hear you tell your story, okay, I can't say that anymore because, hey, I know someone now, so listen to Darryl Clack's story because here's his story and he has something to say and he talks about it more in his book. So there you go, man. Look here.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Look, hear my story before I forget. Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Where else? Also on the website as well?
Website, DarrylClack.com.
DarrylClack.com. Okay. And man, if you hit him up on the website, ask for the book, he can give you the autographed version as well. There you go. Okay. And for my Amazon people, I know y'all got Prime. I know half of the people listening got Prime. Order the book, give it a thumbs up, give it a great review. And man, get it shipped the next day. There you go.
Yes, sir.
Darryl Clack, I thank you for being my guest on the show, sir, man.
Appreciate you, my brother, man. Thank you so much, man.
No problem at all. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Word with Ty Brownlow. I am your host, Ty Brownlow. Remember, no one is worthless, so story is worthless. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Word with Ty Brownlow. Or you can just go to my website, tybrownlow.com, get this wonderful interview, plus other great interviews. Mr. Darryl Clack, appreciate you. We out. Peace, peace.
Take care, brother. You good.
Right.
Bye-bye.